Happy Wednesday, my friends. It's a sheer miracle that we were able to get that intro video played because I am without my producer this evening. Joel, he is traveling and does not have power, but happy Wednesday. We're still going to get through this. Just bear with me on the technical difficulties. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it's not really going to matter because you can't see anything anyway. But welcome to episode 42 of the Audit The Vote podcast. I am your host, Tony Shoup, and I do have a guest with me this evening that I'm excited for our conversation. She's a Leadership Congress graduate from Patriot Academy. We're going to unpack her story together, but I have a ton of election integrity stuff to cover before we bring her on screen. So again, just bear with me as I don't have my producer tech guy, and you're going to see how non-techie I am in tonight's episode, and we're going to just roll with it and make it fun because that's how we roll. Saving the Republic is a 24/7 job, and we just have to go with stuff like that. Please like this video, share it on whatever platform you're listening on, and subscribe on whatever platform to help us get to the top of the algorithm. That is the easiest way that you can support our election integrity efforts in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, is by liking our videos, sharing them with like-minded friends or even not like-minded friends. I don't mind having a civil discourse with someone who disagrees, and then also subscribing. It takes you no money, a little bit of extra time, and it is one of the simplest ways that you can support us. So please hit the like button. There's no way I'm going to get the fancy little like Joel does on the side. You'll see these little bells and the thumbs up with a like, and there's just no way that's happening without him here, but I don't think you'll miss it. All right, so before we get to Lauren Zissos, my special guest, we're going to unpack a few things with election integrity. Number one, we huge win this week in getting Heather Honey in the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, as an election integrity expert. That is the biggest win we have had yet, I would argue, in the election integrity movement, is we finally have not just one of our own in terms of somebody who is brave, fearless, and willing to go against the status quo and stand up for the right things, but a brilliant analyst, auditor, and data mind, Heather Honey, in that I have worked alongside her. Her and Vico, my data analyst, have worked alongside one another before I even connected with Vico in March, April, or I should say Audit the Vote. The three ladies at the time, me, Karen, and Jamie, all connected with Vico in April, March-ish of 2021. He had worked with Heather even prior to that, and right after basically the November 3rd, 2020 election. And so she's brilliant. She runs several successful businesses and has done a lot of great work for election integrity, not just in Pennsylvania, but nationwide. She did work for Arizona in the Maricopa County audit. She did some things in Michigan. I'm sure I'm missing things. I don't know the full breadth of everywhere she's worked, but I have worked closely enough with her to know that she is very credible. So you're seeing the Diane, hi, good to see you. You're seeing the hit pieces from the NBC News article I posted, if you follow me on Facebook today, just trying to give a little bit of credibility. I'm not sure who is still following mainstream. I know there still are people out there, but I'd like to think, since especially after getting President Trump back in 2024, that the mainstream media is pretty much dead, and this should be the nail in the coffin. I mean, they're painting. Does anybody really still think that everything was okay in 2020? Like, really? If you do, I think you need to get a little checked out, because, and I'm not even saying everything was legit in 2016, and we don't know if anything was legit in 2024 because we can't see how they're counting the votes. Until the vote counting process and the reporting process is transparent, we won't really know. And it's why organizations like mine, Audit The Vote PA, exist, because we're election integrity watchdogs exposing things that the government otherwise would not want you to know. And Heather was able to expose one of the biggest issues from 2020, in that she found that there were more paper ballots cast and counted in the presidential race than there were turned out to actually participate and vote in the election. And she uncovered that by analyzing data through the SURE system back in November 2020, December 2020. And when she brought that to the state legislature, at the time it was, I believe, Representative Frank Ryan, when she brought that to them, rather than, I'm not saying him specifically, when she brought it out and the state legislature started looking at it, rather than dissecting and trying to understand what happened and do a full audit of 2020, instead, and this was probably the State Department that had a say in this, they decided to sweep it under the rug and try to cover it up. They admitted, our Secretary of State, Kathy Boockvar, at the time, is on record saying that the SURE system is old, antiquated, and none of the data really in it could be confirmed. Like, Think about that for a second. That's the data they used to certify the 2020 election, which we're still told, according to NBC News today, that there were no issues and we're all crazy for asking any questions about it. But yet, the very mechanism that they use to track everything is old, antiquated, and couldn't be confirmed. Hello. So, all that to say, instead of looking into it, they spent $10 million at the time it was Governor Wolf. They hired a company to completely rebuild the shore system, again, because it's antiquated, old, and unreliable. And rather than look into everything, they basically just scrapped it. $10 million of our tax money. If you're in Pennsylvania, my tax money, your tax money. And they started to rebuild the shore system. This was December. We have someone along the way. Audit the Vote didn't do this. We just connected with people who had. I don't even remember who got the contract. Someone filled out a Pennsylvania's version of a FOIA, a right to know request, and was able to get the contract, the government contract, showing that $10 million were spent to rebuild the shore system. Now, long story short, since then, that whole project has been scrapped and redone. Governor Shapiro is currently rebuilding the shore system and taking it to the cloud through something called Civic, CIVIX, which doing a deep dive on that is even worse than the antiquated system that we have because it's more shrouded in mystery that we're not going to be able to see. So we certainly have our work cut out for us in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to restore transparency to elections. All of that to say, congratulations, Heather. We couldn't be at Audit the Vote more proud of you and more excited for the new role that you're in. And we're going to be praying for you because I know with the media hit pieces, if you didn't know who she was, all you have to do now, Google Heather Honey, and she's the equivalent of, election denier, conspiracy theorist, lunatic. And I think the part that bugged me the most is they tried to discredit her professional work. And you would be hard pressed, if even possible, to find somebody that worked alongside her that would say that her work was not legitimate. That could not be further from the truth. So when you're seeing those things in the articles that are saying her work is riddled with errors and fraud, and someone even on my social media said outright lies, that's not true. It's not true at all. And I could dispute every single one of the things that the article says with the actual sources and facts and figures. And I probably will do that in a Substack article. So if you don't follow me on Substack, you should start. TonyShoop.substack.com. Sign up as a free subscriber. I don't put a whole lot behind paywalls nowadays, so you'll pretty much be able to read almost everything that I do write. And I am going to do a Substack article and debunk the legacy media's hit piece on Heather Honey, because again, huge, huge win for election integrity. And I'm really looking forward to see what comes out of that. Along those lines, hi, Myron, how are you? Where's our good friend Tom Wolf? That's a very good question. Hiding somewhere, probably, if he's smart. I'm going to attempt to share my screen, which is always dangerous because I don't have my producer. The Audit the Vote website has been updated. The incredible Vico Bertoli, our data and analytics director, has added this new feature for registration statistics. So if you want to know what's going on with voter registration numbers live in real time, Vico has now put this map on our website, and you can see up there they are tracking since the 2024 election. Let me see if it says it on there. I know that's what it is. This data is tracking registrations since the 2020 change. There it is. It says it right there. Change since 2024 election. How many Democrats we have lost, how many Republicans we have lost, where we stand. The big 54,000 number, 035 is the margin statewide. We have 54,035 more registered Democrats than Republicans. But it's more important to note the changes that are happening. And that's really the value of why he did this, because every Monday, the State Department puts out new data, updated. It's supposed to be as updated as possible on Mondays. And we have now streamlined this so that when that data is updated and we get access to it, it goes directly to the website. So you will have in real time State Department data as far as changes in registration and numbers. And I just found this out behind the scenes. So you can click on your county. So for example, let's take a look at Allegheny. And you see that little guy, but look at this. He has actually put there are two. So here's what this tells you. In Allegheny County, the Democrats have a 212,254 registration advantage, but he's also added some anomalies to this. So the age of the youngest registration, this is actually pretty good for Allegheny, is 18. I clicked on Butler earlier, and Butler, you have an 8-year-old that's registered to vote. So that's kind of interesting. We're going to get into some data, and I'm going to explain another election integrity thing before we bring on Lauren. So please share this with your election integrity minded folks and people that are going, what's happening? Why is nobody even held accountable? Why haven't we seen a perp walk? They stole the 2020 election. Nothing's happening. I would argue that you need to buckle up, because with Heather Honey in there and with others things that I know are going on, I think we are going to finally see some good come of this. Age of the oldest registrant in Allegheny County is 128 years old. Huh? Yeah, you're reading that right. Registrations between the age of 100 and 110, which could be the average age of the oldest American, or I shouldn't say average, that's not right. The oldest American that we know of, or maybe even human being, I want to say that it's either 114 or 115 years old. So is it possible that there are 110-year-old people actually living, breathing, alive, and casting their own ballots? Yes, that is possible. But are there 660 of them across the county? I would argue that that's probably worth checking out. And between the ages of 111 and 114, there's 7. That's interesting, isn't it? Registrants over 114 years old is 88. So it's highly unlikely that somebody is actually 114 years old, alive, breathing, and voting on their own. And there's 88 of those in Allegheny County. So if you're wondering what the issues are of potential fraud, there you go. Out of state issues, Vico, this is flipping beautiful. I love that, man. More every day. Registrations with an out of state mailing address, there are over almost 8,000. NCOA stands for National Change of Address, permanent out of state moves that are listed as active on our voter rolls. So here's what that means. That middle number that for Allegheny is at 9,123 means that there are 9,123 active voters on the voter rolls in Allegheny County. Active meaning they could show up at a poll on election day, cast a ballot with no questions asked, or they could request, or someone could on their behalf request a mail-in ballot form. They're an active voter. According to the National Change of Address database, which is what the United States Postal Service uses to keep track of everything, which is also how mail-in ballots travel in the ever so reliable Pony Express, the NCOA permanent out-of-state moves means that 9,123 active voters are shown as permanently moving out of the state of Pennsylvania. Now, I don't know about you, but if you don't live here permanently, I don't know that you should be voting here. So I got 9,100 of those. Out of state moves that are registered, that number probably includes the inactive. So an inactive voter does make it a little bit harder to end up stealing that or doing something with fraud when someone is actually moved to inactive. When you go to the polls on election day, if you're listed as inactive, you are required to show ID in order to actually cast a ballot. So there are some safeguards in there, but still, Allegheny, you got 21,000 people on your voter rolls who, according to the NCOA, they don't live in Pennsylvania anymore, probably shouldn't be there. Duplicates, oh, my favorite, based on voter ID. Duplicates based on first name, date of birth, and address. Vico is so brilliant. So duplicate registrants by full name and date of birth and different addresses, there's 3,700 people. And then the other findings down here are probably going to be the same across the counties. But do enjoy that. Play around with that. I'm going to go my back button. Is it working? Oh, gosh, it's working. Let's look at Butler because that was fun. They had an 8-year-old registered to vote. Look at this. Vico, you rock my world. There it is. Age of the youngest registration, 8 years old. Age of the oldest, oh, 113 in Butler. I'm going to have some fun with this after the podcast tonight because Vico and I had a sync up call today with Cause of America, and I just found out that he did this. This is brilliant work. And as you can see on there, if you just hover over the counties, there is just some basics, how many total registrants active, broken out by party, and the advantage in terms of registration that are there total and then active. So this is like a data geek's heaven right here. What's that one? Lycoming. Oh, all right. I'm going to stop because you guys don't care about this. And if you're listening to this on Spotify and Apple, you can't really see what I'm doing anyway. So let me see if I can now figure out how to remove this. That's the update on the Audit the Vote website. I want to say a thank you to everybody that has continued to donate and support us. We could not have continued this important work without donations. We are 100% funded from generous patriots across the state who have, some of them, given us on a regular basis monthly for the last 4 years plus. Some have written one-time checks. No matter what it is that you're doing along those lines, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We could not have kept going. It's not necessarily cheap to run things the way that we do, although for a nonprofit, I think we run fairly lean and do a pretty good job keeping our expenses and our costs low, but every dime helps. And so thank you to those that have supported this and are continuing to support it. And if this is near and dear to your heart and you feel led to support us, go to auditthevotepA.com/donations and you can support the cause there. So, all right, before I bring Lauren in, I had a couple more things. Lauren and I will cover some Constitution City. Patriot Academy, we've got some not so great news this week that Constitution City is going to be on hold, but her and I can unpack that together. Before we get to that, I want to share one other election integrity tidbit with you that I think will give you some hope, and that's assuming I can pull that up as well. I got this. I can figure it out. Trump's executive order. Last week, he did an executive order on mail-in ballots, saying that not an executive order. Let me back up. He did an announcement on his social media saying that he is planning to ban mail-in ballots and also voting machines. The executive order, as far as I know, has not actually come out yet. However, he did write an executive order several months ago, shortly after he was inaugurated, with a ton of different election integrity initiatives in it. And I finally understand, to the level that I feel I can explain it and articulate it to you all, how we could potentially get rid of electronic voting machines through this executive order for elections that have federal races on the ballot. Because President Trump updated, there's an organization, it's a government agency called the Election Assistance Commission. They are responsible for certifying our voting machines and making them, I guess you could say, acceptable for operation. Now, our counties and our states rely on the EAC in order to say that machines are good to go, working properly, no funny business, no potential for hacking or cyber attacks, all that jazz. And so they are leaning on the EAC for that type of information. Well, what I was explained to me today, Vico did a wonderful job explaining, and I'm going to try to share my screen again. How did I screw this up? Is that their certification standards are not met anywhere in the country. And I'm going to show you how to find it. Oh my gosh, I have a ton of chats I didn't get to yet, but I will. Hang tight with me, guys, without a producer. Wow, how helpful producers are. Joel, power, buddy. Get some power back on. Share screen. How is that doing? And no, at the stage. Come on. I did it. So proud of myself. All right, so this website you can go to is the eac.gov, actually, if you want to do this on your own. So I'm showing it to you so you can verify everything that I'm saying. James asked, where do we get the data? The data that you saw on the Audit The Vote website is coming directly from the Department of State. You can purchase for $20 the entire database statewide every Monday, and we have been doing that since November of 2020. We also have another donor that actually has done that for us and given us that data. So we have voter rolls every single week since November 3rd, 2020 election, but you can go check it out yourself, and I recommend you do. The EAC website, this is about the testing and the certification program. Now, as I scroll up, here's what we're looking at. So President Trump's executive order, I'm going to hover my cursor over where it says this testing standard. See this pull down menu I just used? VVSG 2.0. His executive order requires that every voting machine that is going to be used in a federal election is certified according to that standard, VVSG 2.0. Spoiler alert, there's not a single system in the nation, I was told today, that is certified along those lines. So when you click that to show me the voting system name, nothing comes up. Oh, what is that? Verity Vanguard says on July 2025. So there's one manufacturer and one system, Verity Vanguard Hart Intercivic Inc., that is certified to VVSG 2.0. So his executive order is saying if you are not meeting these standards, you cannot be used for federal elections. And it is unlikely. Next week, I may have Vico come on here if he is able to break away from his schedule and explain what he explained to me today, because I feel like if I try to break it down, I'll butcher it. in that this is our path to get rid of. This is a very good potential path to get rid of electronic voting machines because, as you can see, none of the current ones are certified to that standard. And with his executive order requiring that, there's our path. So we're stuck with them in 2025. If you have an election coming up in November, like we do in Pennsylvania, we are stuck with the machines probably for now. But this could change things for the midterms. It's all about stopping the steal of the midterms at this point in time, I would argue. And so next week, I have asked Vico if he would be willing to take some time and explain everything again that he explained to me today. And he did say he would. The last thing I'm going to point you to, and then we're going to bring Lauren on here. So what do we do between now and then? Well, we have to get trained on how to hand count paper ballots. And I know the co-founder of Audit the Vote, Karen Taylor, had done a phenomenal job of that. Last year, she started training people. I think she trained almost 300 people all across the state on Linda Rance's method from Missouri. There's multiple different ways that you can hand count. Because of America is now relaunching. I believe they announced this week on their Monday call. They're relaunching a hand count initiative. I was going to show you that, but it's too much for me to try to share my screen again. Go to causeofamerica.org and click on Get Trained. And there is a map of the United States. You can click on where you live and you can either request a trainer or if you are trained in hand counting, you can let them know you're trained, because what we need to do as grassroots patriots now is deploy an army of people across the nation who know how to hand count the paper ballots and what the process looks like, so that if all of this goes, I'm sure that this is going to go through the courts, and they'll argue that President Trump can't do that with his executive order. I don't know why anybody would argue against election transparency, but then again, here we are. This is how we come in and provide alternative solutions so that these voting machine companies that we don't even know who owns, by the way, we don't know who owns the voting machine company. I mean, let me back that up. We can't prove who owns them. It's shrouded in mysteries of shell companies and other things that I don't have time to get down that rabbit hole tonight. All that to say, learning how to hand count is when things do come out that we're getting rid of the machines, to minimize panic across the county level in our states. We have to have people that are trained and able to fill those gaps so that they don't, if the voting machines decide to say, well, we're certifying, here's what we've done, we meet the VVSG 2.0. I think everybody that's watching this, maybe not, most of you would agree that we need to chuck any type of hackable equipment that is in our election process. I wrote a Substack article last week, if you're following me, on the number of countries that do not use mail-in balloting, that have banned it. It is it's an insane number. It's over 160. I can't remember off the top of my head because I have so many numbers floating around in there. But there are very few countries that still allow mail-in ballots. And it's all because they are ripe for fraud. And yet our own government is trying to tell us everything is fine. Also, last point we're going to bring Lauren on is that Rasmussen did a poll today. I think it just came out today. Maybe it was more this week. The percentage of Democrats and Republicans who are completely fine with volunteering to hand count, should we have to go that route? And of course, the Republicans are a little bit more, but of all voters, Rasmussen reports, would you volunteer to hand count and examine the election ballots in a local school gymnasium on election night? The number of voters that said yes is 56%. So if 56% of voters, 57% were men, 56% of women said yes, and of the GOP, 62% of the GOP said they would, and 54% of Democrats said that they would be willing to volunteer to hand count and examine election ballots in a local school gymnasium on election night. So the trend is moving in our favor. I think I'm honestly more hopeful about the future of election integrity now than I've been this entire time. We're finally starting to see some really good movement. So looking forward to that. Let me check the chat before we bring on Lauren. I'm excited to get into the discussion with her. Myron, good to see you. Everybody vote. We do have an important election coming up in November. And if you are interested in becoming a judge of elections for your precinct, meaning you are the head honcho, that's one of the best ways we can secure elections. And we're going to be putting out some emails. If you haven't gotten an email from us in a little while, it's because we changed servers. We had changed payment processors. We've been through a lot of changes. And so we're going to start a monthly newsletter up again that goes in the process of working on that right now. And we're going to run an email campaign, which we did before the primary, to encourage people to run for the judge of elections position in their precinct, because that's something that you and I can both control at the local level, is we can be involved that way to secure the vote. But yes, this November, that will be on the ballot, as well as voting no to get rid of the 3 Supreme Court activist judges on Pennsylvania's Supreme Court that stiff-armed President Trump's 2020 election lawsuits, as well as allowed our kids to be masked in school, force masked in school. They've done a host of things that they deserve to be kicked off of the bench for. What is that website? The website was eac.gov. I think that's Donna. eac.gov, Election Assistance Commission. eac.gov. You can go and check that out. Okay, my special guest is waiting patiently backstage. Her name is Lauren Zissos. I spent some time with Lauren when I was in Texas this summer, but she is a graduate of Patriot Academy's Leadership Congress program that I believe she's been through multiple times. I also spent some time with her mom and dad when I was there in July for the Patriot Intensive, and they have such a heart for Patriot Academy and what they're doing. In fact, her mom, which we affectionately called Dr. Hope, helped take a little, my youngest Hallie was playing on the campus and got one of these, I don't know what they're, little prickly bugger thing that got like stuck in her leg, and she completely wigged out. And I happened to be at the House chamber with Kara Green and Butch and Dr. Hope Zissos, Lauren's mom and dad. And Dr. Hope drove with me back to the house and helped nurse my Hallie back to health, which she was fine. But just having a doctor there for her was very comforting. So we appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and bring Lauren on screen and say, welcome to the Audit the Vote podcast, my friend. It's so great to have you. Sorry for keeping you waiting.
It's so good to be here. I'm glad to just chat and see what we can tell your audience about leadership congresses and Patriot Academy.
Awesome. So this is Lauren's, you're going to be surprised, but I should have told you this after. This is actually yesterday. I talked to her on the phone, said, have you ever done a podcast before? Because she's an excellent speaker, orator. She can present herself very well in front of a crowd. So I assumed that meant she had done interviews and podcasts before. And she goes, no, I've never done one. No big deal. It's going to be like a live Zoom call. We're just talking to the world, but it's like we're on Zoom. So is that kind of how it feels? I hope.
Of course. I mean, getting to talk with you is just like that anyway. So.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Okay, so give us, Lauren, some of your background. I believe you're still in school. You're a Liberty University student. Give us a little bit of a snapshot of your background in terms of what you're studying, where you think you're headed career-wise, and then we'll backtrack and talk about how you found Patriot Academy and the Leadership Congress stuff.
Yeah, so my life has been so full of blessings. That's the only way I can put it. God has abundantly given me more than I could ever ask or dream of in terms of my family, where I've grown up, the people and friends who have surrounded me. I'm from California. I hate to break it to you all. If there's one place maybe worse than Pennsylvania, it might be California. But I've been blessed enough to grow up in the desert, the high desert, near a Navy base. The only reason the town exists that I live in is because of the Navy. So I've been surrounded by patriots my entire life. The people who helped raise me, the people and the culture that I've grown up in has always been centered on loving American values, understanding her character, her virtue, and accepting the good, bad, and the ugly, but realizing that there's something to love about America and honoring that. As for school, Tony already said that, yes, I am still a student. I'm going to Liberty Online. My education path has been far from normal. Every time I think I know what's going to happen, God says, nope, something else. And that seems to be the way things go. So I'll finish up. I'm in my senior year online. And I think there's a few paths that God has put me on. I probably will end up trying to fly for the Navy. But, God does all kinds of things. And I'm just ready to see where he takes me next. So.
Now I remember us talking about that because I had so many issues getting out to Texas this summer. I think Patriot Academy needs a private jet. Rick Green does for sure. That's when you and I started talking that one day in the lunchroom because you're like, I might become a pilot with the Navy. Now I remember that.
Yeah, I have to send some people your way, see if they can do anything about that. Can't keep getting stuck places. We need you.
So what's your degree, Lauren, going to be in when you finish? I know it's multiple. I remember you saying more than one subject. What is it going to be?
Yeah, I actually did community college first and just did as many associates as I kind of could. And now I am studying computational mathematics and military studies. So
That
about
sounds
as far as you can get apart on the spectrum, kind of.
military studies and computational mathematics. Wow. That's a mouthful. That's a lot.
It is.
So, and I think when we talked, you're 23 years old. Is that how old you are now?
I am.
23.
Yes.
Talk to me about how old were you when you first went to Leadership Congress? What was that experience like? So let's backtrack a little bit.
Oh my goodness. So I was 17 when I went to my first Leadership Congress, and it was all the way back in 2019. A little bit of history there. So my great aunt and uncle lived in Texas, but they had previously lived in California, or at least my aunt had, and they came out to visit us in the winter, early 2019. And we were chatting, and they said, Lauren, have you ever heard of Patriot Academy? You need to attend a leadership congress. And I said, no, what's that? So they started explaining it to me, and it turns out that my aunt and uncle, Dan and Susan Flynn, knew the Greens. They were actually involved in getting Patriot Academy up and running. Rick served his first term in the Texas legislature, and then my uncle served, and he continued serving for, oh my goodness, I think 20 years. So my uncle was still in the legislature at the time, and they had still been doing things with Patriot Academy over the years. If you notice in the halls of the legislative chambers where we have all those posters, my aunt and uncle are in a lot of those photos. It's really cool to see.
That
So
is
they came
so
out.
cool.
I know, it was really neat to get to hang those last year. So my aunt and uncle come out and they say, well, you need to attend a leadership congress. And I go, well, what's that? What's Patriot Academy? I had no idea. It's kind of like Scarlett says, I didn't know what a Rick Green was.
And I didn't either until I came in through the coach program. So I didn't know until I actually came on staff, hired to basically help grow the coach program and make it better. I didn't know what Leadership Congress was either. So please share that with the audience.
My aunt and uncle had me hooked. They got me online, showed me what the program was, were telling me their experience. And I remember the moment there used to be like this quiz that said, are you ready for Patriot Academy? And you click through the quiz, and one of the questions like, what are your favorite colors? And I think some of the options were like black and white, cool colors, warm colors. And then the last option was red, white, and blue. And it's so funny because I've always told people since I was really little, what's your favorite color? Red, white, and blue. And I looked at my aunt and I said, I've found my people, I think. So
just from the website. Whoa.
Right. So long story short, I end up going to Leadership Congress for the first time in 2019. We go out there. I kind of got a tour of the Capitol from my uncle, which was really, really neat. And then I was thrown in headfirst into the LCs. When I tell you I was terrified, my knees were knocking. I didn't know what I was doing there. I thought to myself the first time, I don't think I belong here. This is a caliber of people that is above my pay grade. I wasn't sure what I was doing. And yet when I walked in the doors for the first time, there were people who had no idea who I was. I was a complete stranger. And yet they looked at me and they said, we're here for you. We want to see what it is that God has for your life. What is your passion? Where is he going to use you? How can we take all of the things that you have been poured into you, and how can we be the catalyst for turning that into something that God is going to use? And that's really what Patriot Academy, if I had to distill it down to one word, I think maybe, it's so hard, but I think catalyst would be a really good word for it.
Excellent.
Everything that had been poured into my life ahead of that was the turning point for me going, now I know how to implement it.
So did you write a bill that first time? Like did you just get thrown right into the fire? What would that look like?
Yes. So ahead of every leadership congress, we make students write bills and you have to present it. So when you get to Texas or one of the regionals, whatever state you're in, you've brought a bill that you've worked with a mentor ahead of time to write. Then you're going to get assigned to a committee. Once you're in that committee, you have to present that bill. And the hope is to get it through committee, through the calendars committee, and onto the floor to then be passed and signed by the governor. Yeah, that was terrifying for me my first year. I remember doing my bill, I think it was on, oh my goodness, I've done so many since then. I believe it was on protecting religious freedom in California. There had been an assembly bill that had been introduced but didn't pass trying to restrict people from, I think the gist of it was restricting individuals from being able to have any religious conversation about homosexuality or transgenderism, I believe was the gist of it. And so mine was basically reversing that and saying, no, we're going to protect it. It was basically codifying the First Amendment in California law.
So they were, wait,
and I was terrified.
They were trying to say you can't, explain that to me again. You can't talk. They didn't want you to talk about those things? I'm confused.
Yeah, so they didn't want, I'm a little fuzzy on it because it's been so long, but the intent of the original bill that I was trying to basically counteract was to prevent someone, say a Christian, which is what it really was targeting, to prevent Christians from being able to speak with individuals who were struggling with homosexuality or transgenderism. Yeah.
That's insane.
California is a special place.
I've heard since that was a while ago. So I think that idea has caught in fire, because I feel like I went to my church not long ago in Pennsylvania here, and they had something like that was mentioned. So I think that is, it's making its rounds. But regardless of where you stand on that spectrum in terms of the issues, free speech is free speech. You should, that's insanity. Oh my gosh.
I know. And it's not meant to just protect a certain group of people. It's meant so that everyone can have civil discourse. Whether I like what you say or not, I do want to hear what you have to say.
Exactly.
So yeah, that was my bill my first year. And I remember, you've been to the Texas Capitol, so you know that House floor is huge. I didn't expect to get my bill on the floor. I think I got it passed through committee like the second day, and it was kind of explained to me, oh, if you don't get it past the first committee session, you might not get your bill heard on the floor. Well, I had it sprung on me like 5 minutes before it ended up being on the floor. Oh, you're up next. And I'm sure you know Elijah O'Neill.
Yes, I do.
Yes. He decided to play devil's advocate on my bill, and as a freshman, I was terrified. He's at the back mic arguing with me. It was trial by fire. And I really think that's the best way possible. Now, as you know, having gone for so many years, I'm the one standing at the back mic grilling people, and the best way to learn is just by doing it. Yeah. And the first thing that I really learned and took away from Patriot Academy was, oh, they're putting us in this scenario so that we can understand what it's like, and we're gaining the skills, not through listening to lectures only or hearing rhetoric. You're going to practice it, and you're going to have to do it because you can, and you won't know that you can until you try.
Yep. I think the value that I see in it, most of my audience are probably Gen Xers and baby boomers who have either kids or grandkids that are in that window, that 16 to 25 window. I know that Rick targets with these particular events, although they have expanded, and if you're older than 25, you can still go to a leadership congress of sorts. The value I see in it is most people like myself in my early 40s, I had no clue how our laws are made. Even when I got involved in activism, I remember early on the summer of 2021, learning that the legislators, the person that you and I elect on the ballot and put in office, typically doesn't write the bill. They don't write their own bills. They don't read the bills when they come out. The process just is so vague to most people. We don't understand how our laws are even made, which is how I would argue that we got to 2020, where whether or not you cared about politics ended up on your front door. And kind of, Laura Logan said this to me once, we were mugged awake. That's exactly what my experience was like. I was mugged awake in 2020. And when I started learning these things and experiencing what you just talked about, we call that the legislative simulation. You get to actually be put into the shoes of a state house rep, a state senator, whatever it is. You get to be put in those shoes for. And Lauren, in your case, if you're going to the National Leadership Congress, it's 7 days. Was your first one was in Texas? Have you done the ones that are in the shorter ones when they travel throughout the summer? Have you done one of those?
I have. I've done those in, I think, 3 different states now. I haven't made it to the ones on the East Coast, but those are just as fantastic. If you know somebody who is closer to one of those areas, I highly recommend those as well. There's a different atmosphere to it, but there's something to be learned from each and everything you go to. I've been attending these since 2019, and it never gets boring. There's always something new to learn. And I like to say, too, you were mentioning the legislative simulation part of it. That is just like the packaging. That's the pretty bow around everything that Patriot Academy does. the core of what you get out of it. You might be attracted to come for learning the legislative process, but what you get out of it is going to be so much more than that. The values, the teaching, the family that you get out of it, that's the highlight of it all.
Amen, girl. I'm going to try to pull up the website. Look, I did it. Oh my gosh. I'm
Yes.
so proud of myself. Hey, Mark, it's good to see you. So they're just finishing up their round of these sessions for this year. This, I don't know if you want to call it season or year, but if you're looking, where I would start looking ahead is next summer for sure. And you go to patriotacademy.com and you click on programs, and Leadership Congress is the top one. It's the flagship program that Rick essentially started this whole entourage with 20 to 30 years ago. I don't know exactly what year he launched the very first one, but you can learn all about it. And as you can see, there's 3 tracks now. For 16 to 25-year-olds is what Lauren is talking about. Then there's one just for military veterans and one for coaches, Constitution coaches like myself. So if you're outside that, you're older than 25, how do I participate? Those are your options, but you're going to want to keep your eyes on this for next year because they're wrapping up their seasons. I wonder if that video, if I hit play, if that would work, what that video is. Let's see what happens. Oh, I can't hear any. Oh, mute.
The most amazing Patriot Academy we've ever had. I know, I say that every
Can you
year
hear it?
because we grow every year. And we got
Can you guys hear it?
Patriot Academy
All right, hold on.
in this legislative hall last year in 2024, but this year in 2025, it's so big. We have so many people applying for it that we've actually split it up. We're going to have the military veterans and the coaches coming later in August. For our young leaders, 16 to 25, we're going to do the last week of July, and it's going to be off the charts. We're going to have an amazing week. Not only that, put this, in the back of your mind and be thinking about it, but we're also going to have a Patriot Institute intensive where you can come in the entire month of July. Imagine spending an entire month right here on the Patriot Academy campus. You get to go through a constitutional defense course. You'll get in-depth training with Chris Dunham and myself, the Podfather Adam Curry, all these other people coming in to pour into you over a 30-day period for the Patriot Institute intensive. It's the first time we've done this. It's going to be absolutely amazing, and I invite you to be part of that first class. But even if you can't make it for the whole month of July, at least get here for the National Leadership Congress. This place is going to be packed. It'll be the largest one that we've ever had. Amazing speakers, amazing training, incredible interaction with other young people. You're going to build relationships that are going to be with you for the rest of your life. I'm looking forward to having you here, right here on the Patriot Academy campus. So check out that Institute Intensive for the whole month of July, or just make your plans to get your application in for the National Leadership Congress the last week of July. And I'll tell you what, that whole thing is going to end on August 2nd, the day the Declaration of Independence was actually signed, and you're going to be putting your name on the Declaration on the anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We'll see you right here at the Patriot Academy campus.
I did it! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I did it. Joel, you'll be so proud of me. I still need you. I still need him because this is like multitasking to the nth degree. I'm glad you guys could hear it. Marcus saying I use my volume to make it higher. I started to, but unless Joel decides to quit and leave me, I'm not going to have to worry about this anyway. But so what Rick talked about is what Lauren and I, where we kind of connected. Actually, no, your mom and dad are who I connected with during the intensive. I did go in July for the first 2. I was there for 2.5 weeks. And then I saw you at the National Leadership Congress. I forget even where we were before I started playing that. Oh, we were explaining to people. So put this on your radar for next summer for a kid or a grandkid in between the ages of 16 to 25. This gives me so much hope to see the actual remnant. We hear about it, especially if you're in church circles all the time, that God always has a remnant and the remnant is rising. And I believe that. But when you see it with your own eyes, it's so empowering and it gives you so much hope for the future, regardless of the craziness that we're watching happen on the world stage, that we can actually see the remnant live in person. And it's awesome. So what would you say the difference is, Lauren, between the state ones they do and the national one? I know you said they're both great experiences, but what's the biggest difference between those two? Are there I'm sure there's less speakers when they do the 3-day ones, but What are your
Yeah, I
thoughts?
think probably the biggest difference is the amount of speakers that we get to hear from. When you're at the National Leadership Congress, there's a really good balance of speakers that you're listening to, and then you're going to committee sessions or the floor sessions. It's really, really fast paced, though. So the National Leadership Congress is long and it's intense, but it's really, really good. All of that is condensed on the regional academies because it's just a shorter time frame. You still get the core of everything. We still do our campaign in a day snapshots. It's just a little shorter. You don't get as many committee sessions. You don't get as much floor time, but the core of it is all still there. I would say probably the biggest difference is the amount of speakers you're getting to listen to, but at each and every one, you're still getting some fantastic people brought in, and it just depends on who's available and who's in the area.
So talk to about campaign in a day is something also that I think is incredibly valuable that any activist, and regardless of whether or not you're going to run for office, the first time I did that, I was just like, whoa, this is a lot. You get to learn. They do a simulation of if you're going to be running a campaign, what that's going to look like. And can you give me a little bit more details from your eyes? What happens in campaign in a day? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So campaign in a day is basically this snapshot. Actually, I shouldn't use the term snapshot because that's what they actually do for the shorter ones. It is a brief that's given to you on how to run a campaign, what that process looks like. And then through that, you're put on a team and your team faces off with another team where you're given a packet of information about a fake candidate and you have to put together information, both a campaign stump speech, you have to answer questions that they give you, figure out how many votes you're going to need, and you face off with another team to see who wins that election, applying all of the skills that you just learned in those briefs about how campaigns work and how campaigns run. It is an absolute doozy. It's about the best way I can describe it. You're thrown in head first and you have to learn on the go.
That's
At
exactly
the
what it felt like.
regionals, it's just a little bit shorter, is pretty much the same thing.
That's what it felt like, but I thought it was one of the things I'm using since is when they show you how to calculate how many votes you're going to need so that when you're building out your campaign strategy, you at least have a target, like a number that you're shooting. I had no idea how that worked. You know, you look at how many registered voters you have, the demographics, how do you figure it out? They actually teach you, here's how you figure it out. So
yes,
I just think that is a really, really
it's
good
tools in the toolbox. How can I implement this in my own life? If there's a local election I can help with that they don't know where to start, where are they going to push off from and make an impact in the community? Or if you're running your own campaign, say you find something that you decide, oh, I need to be running for this election. You actually have the tools in your toolbox to get started and to start working on running a successful campaign. And all of those are given to you in the span of a couple of hours. I think that's the most amazing thing about Patriot Academy is they instill so much knowledge into you in just the span of a couple days, and all of it takes root. I can't tell you how many peers that I have and listening to their stories and watching what they do after going to Patriot Academy. It's absolutely incredible what they get up to.
Give me give me a real world example, Lauren, of something that I learned this at Patriot Academy. This is what happened in my life, and here's how I applied what I learned to make my life better. If you can think of it. I know I'm probably throwing you for a loop, but that's what I want
Actually,
to
I
know.
have one. I have an example that I hadn't even thought about until you just brought that up. When I came back from my first academy, I was homeschooled for most of my high school, junior high, elementary experience. I was part of a group that did like extracurricular activities on Tuesdays. And when I graduated and then had come out of Patriot Academy, I decided, well, let me take all these things that I've learned and the classes that Patriot Academy offers. Let me take what I love about those and teach them to our homeschool group. So I had junior hires and high schoolers for, I think 3 years was how long I did it for. And we did a class on speech and debate. We did a class on leadership. We did a class on the Constitution. And it was young people getting together excited about what they could learn. I don't necessarily, people say, oh, you taught classes. I don't necessarily think I would call it that. I just literally took the information that had been poured into me and distilled it in a way that people wanted to learn about. And these junior hires and high schoolers loved it. They were so, so good. Rick actually came out, I think, oh my goodness, it's been like 3 years ago now, and did a presentation at a couple of different churches. And I had the students get up and give either quotes on leadership or talk about a founding father or give an example of patriotism in between when he was speaking. And they absolutely nailed it. If you need hope, just go to the young people and put information in front of them and watch what they do with it. Everywhere from 12 years old or even a little bit younger. I think my youngest student was a little bit younger. The fire of patriotism that they have when you put the information in front of them and you treat them like they can actually learn it, they love it. It was so incredible to see, oh, okay, I'm not the only one who loves this. Even in my own community, there are other people who want this information and they want to be on fire for the Lord and for our country.
Were you in California during this time?
Yes.
Yeah, look at that, guys. California. Holy cow. And keep in mind, she's only 23. So she went back home in her late teens, early 20s, and was able to bring this back to kids even younger than her. Talk about the remnant and how we take this country back. Gosh, that's so cool. Absolutely love it.
I think what you're hitting on too is also something that Patriot Academy teaches. You've seen our golf balls, correct?
Yes, I have. Explain the golf ball.
Actually,
love that.
Let me see. Oh, I have one right here. So the golf ball is a representation of character. When I showed up my first year at Patriot Academy, I went, what on earth are they doing? They hand you a golf ball and say, okay, this is your character. And you're like, what do you mean? You would think that this is the silliest object lesson you have ever seen, but it truly has taught me so, so much over the years. I think that an object lesson is something all of us can learn from. And when I went and was told that this represented my character, I went, what do you mean? You are required to keep this golf ball in your hands at all times throughout the whole week. Obviously, when you're in your hotel room at the end of the night, they say, okay, but don't forget it in the morning. It taught me so much about what it means to be Christ-like and to have my character in my grasp at all times. When you are required to hold something that is unwieldy, it's slippery, it's inconvenient, you realize how much it matters to display your character at all times. And I bring that up in relation to the kids that I was teaching too, in that they're eager to have somebody tell them that their character matters. They're eager to have somebody tell them that they have a purpose. When you're looking for people to introduce to Patriot Academy, and when you're looking for people to encourage to go to these leadership congresses, remember that they're looking for a purpose. They're looking for somebody to tell them, you have a character and it matters. You have to hang on to your integrity. It's so much easier to lose this than you think. And one of the things that on this one, this is from when I was part of the cabinet, one of the things that we put on it is that it's easier kept than recovered. As hard as it is to keep this, it is so much harder to gain it back once you've lost it.
Wow.
The tradition at Patriot Academy annoys a lot of people, but when you have the freshmen come in, they're like, why am I doing this? And by the end of the week, they realize, it's because my character matters this much, both to my peers, to God, to my nation. You can't lose it because so many people around you do. You have to keep on to it even when it's hard.
So what, don't they do something fun if you do like leave your golf ball somewhere that you're not like you basically, if you do lose it throughout the week, don't they do something for that?
Yes, we do. So inevitably somebody always drops it. Every year the cabinet charges the new class, or that year they're like, please, let's try and hang on to them for 24 hours. I've watched people lose them in 30 seconds. It's really a reminder. It's that hard to hang on to your character. If you lose your character the first time, you have to say a character quote. There's a list of them that we give everybody before the academy even starts, and you're encouraged to memorize one, even if you never lose your golf ball. But if you lose it more than once, then you're going to get up and you're going to sing a song. And if anybody knows Veggie Tales, we make them sing a modified version of a Where's My Hairbrush. You have to sing a Where's My Golf Ball. And if you do that, then you get your golf ball back.
Oh, mortifying. Oh my goodness.
It's It's all done in good fun, but it
Yes.
really makes you think.
Yeah.
I remember my first year, I watched an individual. This lesson really taught me a lot. I've learned a lot by carrying my own, but I've learned a lot by watching others carry theirs as well. And he was a vice chair. So if you know anything about the committee process, the vice chairs are ones at Patriot Academy who are editing the bills. So if somebody has a committee substitute that they have to make, or if changes have to be done, the vice chair is doing that. And I watched the vice chair take his golf ball, tuck it into his pocket, and pretend to hold it. And it really made me stop and think. I didn't know at that time that I could have called him out and said, give me your golf ball, we're turning it into staff. But it made me think, how often are we pretending to hold on to our character? We think that we have it, and we're trying to tell the rest of the world, oh, we have our character intact. But in reality, we have it tucked away where we're not paying attention to it because we think it's an inconvenience. It's something that we don't want to have to worry about. How often are we doing that when we in reality should be hanging on to it for dear life because it matters that much? Something that was, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, and if we raise people up to that level, of course, we'll never be perfect. There's one perfect person and they crucified him. But if we're raising people with this standard of excellence, and imagine putting those types of folks in office, the difference that we can make for the future of how our laws get passed, and restoring, like we talk about in biblical citizenship, the 4 pillars that are around the National Monument to Forefathers faith. It all starts with, education and teaching our young people. And that's exactly, I just can't think of a better way to reshape the culture than this. But sorry, I interrupted you. Keep going.
No, I think that's exactly it. It's excellence over perfection. And it's something that we think is lost in our nation, but it's not. Mm-hmm. It's just something that we haven't connected on.
Yes.
When you were playing
Lauren,
that
write
video,
that down. That's a quote. We think it's lost, but it's not. It's just something we haven't connected on. Character.
Yeah.
Oh, write that down. That's good.
It's true. It's something that is a value instilled into our nation. It's just we've somehow lost it because we haven't been taught it. Nobody has connected on it. And I think that is the big thing that Patriot Academy does, is they teach the history and they offer the connections. One of the things, oh my goodness, this all ties together. Of course it does. In that video that you saw, that you played, they have the torch at the end, and at the banquet ceremony that is done at the end of the week, the students are all given the opportunity to go up and sign the declaration. And at the end of the declaration is the line, "We mutually pledge to one another our lives, fortunes, and sacred honor." And before we are even given that chance, Rick and Kara Green bring us back and they say, you're going to get the opportunity to sign the declaration, but you don't have to sign it. If you are not willing to pledge, or you're just not ready to pledge your life, fortune, and sacred honor to your peers, to the people who are around you that you've spent this week with, you don't have to. But if you are ready to sign that, we're going to give you the opportunity to mutually pledge to one another your lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. And that's all ties back into why it matters for us to have our character. It is not necessarily for us. Obviously, it's a good thing to keep character, and you're going to find yourself bettered by that. The self-discipline, the standards of devotion that it takes, that obviously is going to improve you. But when it really matters is to your peers. It matters to the people that you surround yourself with. Are you being a trustworthy person? Are you somebody that they can rely on in the fight that we have ahead to make sure that our nation stays on stable ground? And then in addition to that, so he mentioned August 2nd in that video. My first year, I got to sign the declaration on August 2nd. That was my first opportunity to sign. So for those of you who don't know, yes, there were some people who signed the declaration on July 4th. There were only 2 people. It was Secretary Thompson and John Hancock. And the rest of them all signed on August 2nd of 1776. There we go. We're in 75. We're 250 now.
Why was that, Lauren? Why did the majority of them sign on August 2nd? Let's educate people.
I think it was just when they were able to get everybody there. I'm honestly, I don't remember what the purpose was, but I know that most of them weren't able to. It was it was adopted by Congress like on the 2nd or the 3rd, and then 2 people signed on the 4th, which is the day we all remember. And then August 2nd is when a majority of them actually got together to sign it. And I always think that's really interesting too, is when you think about it, everybody knows July 4th. And why? Because 2 individuals did something. It doesn't take many of us. It just takes a few with diligent and willing hearts. Obviously, all of our signers of the Declaration did, but imagine what you can do if it just takes 1 or 2.
Mic drop, Lauren. Yes. So I don't know that I could have done a better commercial for Patriot Academy and specifically their Leadership Congress than this, but you knocked it out of the park. Thank you. Thank you for this. Oh my gosh.
I will also say too, the military veterans and the Coach Congress. I didn't actually get to attend a Leadership Congress this year. I got to see you at the MilVet Coach Congress, where I just happened to stop in as a volunteer. I have to say they've split that up this year, but in the years when I was attending Leadership Congress, or at least the national one, my favorite part was getting to watch and learn from the people who were in the MilVet and Coach Congress. Call me weird, but for my whole life, while I have great friends and great peers, a lot of them from Patriot Academy, my favorite thing to do has always been to sit at the feet of my elders and learn from them. And the best things that I have gotten out of Patriot Academy, out of all of it, and obviously we've talked about it the whole night, there's so much that I have been given and blessed with from Patriot Academy, but the best things have been getting to be mentored by and watch and learn leadership and character from the people who are on the MilVet and Coach Congress. So if you are interested in doing that too, it's an absolutely fantastic group full of like-minded people, patriots who are fighting and are ready to take back the nation and to give hope, preserve hope for my generation. Because so often I've seen adults and parents of friends go, yeah, how can we teach our kids to preserve freedom and liberty? And I've sat there going, well, I don't mean to be rude, but you're not dead yet. Why can't you help me too? I'm still young. I'm still trying to figure out where my place is to make a difference. And the people who are attending the Coach Congress and the MilVet Congress, they're the people who are making a difference. They're the ones who are passing down the torch to my generation. Those are the people who have blessed me and who I will spend my entire life trying to honor what they have passed on to me. I can't say enough how much Patriot Academy and those individuals have taught me about patriotism, freedom, liberty, character, leadership. My entire life, my whole goal is to simply honor the past, the people who have come before me, preserve it and protect it for the future by restoring it in the present. Because that's what Patriot Academy and my whole life has led up to. What better thing is there to do with your life than to serve others and serve God?
That is so awesome, Lauren. Thank you. And I'm going to share my screen now because I'm getting a little bit overly confident, probably, and bold because I figured out how to do it a couple of times. But one of your next steps should be Patriot Academy has a new course out called Rebuilding Liberty. It's only 4 weeks, 45 minutes each. It is power-packed, amazing content that I would encourage everybody right now. Don't wait for me to host a class. Yes, I'm going to host a Rebuilding Liberty class, but right now I'm working on a Constitution conference that we're going to have where we're going to bring Rick Green into Pennsylvania on November the 1st. So mark your calendars for that. November 1st is a Saturday. We're going to be in Montgomery County at the Cedars Banquet Event Center. The details are coming. The tickets are only going to be $50. It's going to cover your meal for the day and then all the speakers. I'm putting together the agenda. I had my first planning meeting with my steering committee yesterday, and that's going really, really well. So I've got a lot of irons in the fire. I'm going to be making another announcement soon. I've got a really neat opportunity to do some unique work with one of my newer connections. As soon as it's solidified, I will announce it. But in the meantime, right now, hosting a class is not quite on my radar. So don't wait for me. You can get on patriotacademy.com, register as a host. It is free. And you can watch these videos in your living room with your family. That is one of the best things I think that you can do. One of the best ways that you can inspire the patriotism that Lauren is talking about is by doing that. So I'm going to share the preview video, I guess you call it, the trailer to Rebuilding Liberty. Again, hopefully I'm not getting overly bold here with my tech skills since I figured it out the first time. Let's give it a go. Oh, crap. I knew it'd catch me. Oh, I can't hear it. Unmute. Mute.
Calling all patriots, the 250th birthday of America is right around the corner, and the work begins now. It's the perfect opportunity to educate America, to solve the civic ignorance problem we have with some civic literacy, teaching the principles of the Declaration of Independence, so that we're not just celebrating on July 4th, not just having a bunch of hot dogs and fireworks, and we're not just waving the American flag. We understand why the American flag is being waved. We actually bring to life the principles of the Declaration of Independence. Now, of course, we've been doing that for decades at Patriot Academy and at Wall Builders, but this is the opportunity to get millions of Americans to join us in understanding these principles of the Declaration of Independence. So we literally wrote the book, the blueprint for rebuilding liberty just in time for America's 250th, and we want you to partner with us. So here's the plan. It's not complicated, but it does involve money and time. In fact, it's lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. I think I heard that somewhere, and we'll be teaching on that. So here's how you can be a part of it. We're going to work with the White House and with 100 different organizations that already are constitutionally oriented organizations, and they already have people in the field. And we're going to put 5 million people through the Rebuild Liberty course so that they understand the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. In other words, we're going to do what Ronald Reagan told us to do in his farewell address in 1989. January of 1989, he warned of an eradication of the American memory that would lead to an erosion of the American spirit. And that's what happened. So we're going to restore the American memory, and we're going to restore that American spirit, doing exactly what he said to do, which is civic ritual. And the 250th gives us the perfect opportunity for that civic ritual. Now, we need 5 million informed patriots and 100,000 Constitution coaches to make this happen. That may sound like a lot, but we've already put 1 million people through these Constitution courses, and we already have 30,000 Constitution coaches. So with your help, with 100 organizations, with your donation, and with your organization stepping in to deploy this through your organization, we can make this happen. We can rebuild liberty across the fruited plain. Join us at Patriot Academy. Go to patriotacademy.com and help us rebuild liberty just in time for the 250th.
Boom. Did I get overly bold? Not too bad. All right. Holy cow. I'm watching that video, Lauren. I'm like, oh, I'm in the video. Like, talk about surreal.
I've had that experience before too. I'm like, oh no. You see your face and you go, oh.
Yeah. Like, wait, that's me. Oh, that's right. I'm in the class. Oh my gosh.
I have to say though, that watching that and what you were saying about people just taking initiative and doing it, that is exactly what it means to be a part of the Patriot Academy family. Is to be the caliber of person that just says, okay, I'm going to do it. And I have to say, from watching you for the last few years and hearing your story, that's exactly what it feels like, is getting to soak up all the information and soak up all of that energy and enthusiasm you have. What better caliber people to surround yourself with? That is one of the best parts of Patriot Academy, is you get to be around like-minded people who inspire you to greatness.
Yep. Completely. I appreciate the kind words. I'm just a reflection of the one that made me. And when I surrendered my husband and I our lives to Jesus 20 plus years ago, all I've ever asked him is just, let me be your willing, I am your willing vessel, just send me. And I never thought he'd send me here, but I'm learning to be more thankful. I'm super thankful to be connected with the Greens. I don't know that I would have been able to stay sane on this political journey without them, which leads me into, please be in prayer for Rick and Kara Green, their whole family. Constitution City started off with a bang. It is still going to happen, but we had a little hiccup. If you're not following them on social media, at the 11th hour, of course, I'll call it the swamp in their county, got to the judge who had ordered to allow the election to go forth in November. Essentially, Rick had a bunch of people down there in July because he had looked into the law, did his due diligence, and was going to get Constitution City on the ballot in November for the inhabitants of that particular area to vote on whether or not they wanted to incorporate as a city. And there's a ton of benefits that were going to come from that in terms of restoring property ownership rights, but just all the things they're dealing with when it comes to building the campus and minute fees, $500 here for that fee to to put a slab of concrete, $500 there for that fee. It's just going to cost so much more money for them to do if they are not able to incorporate, which we know, we're believing God that he is going to make a way. And Rick is one determined Jose, I will say. And I don't think that guy's going to be denied. I'm honored to be behind him on this. But they are going to be delayed for a little bit because at the 11th hour, someone got to the judge and convinced him to not allow that question to be on the November ballot, which is something in Pennsylvania we have experienced quite a bit. I was texting with my coworkers this week in the staff and said, hey, that's not unusual for us. In Pennsylvania, we tried multiple times to get things on the ballot. We thought we followed the codes and the laws and did everything just right. And the county solicitor, in our case, that's the attorneys for the county. And that's what happened to the Greens in Texas, too. It's the lawyer for the county that basically flipped everything on its head. And we've had that happen to us multiple times where we've gathered thousands of signatures. We wanted to get questions on the ballot for the voters to decide if they wanted to continue with electronic voting machines, mobilize an effort all across the state, and then we're shot down. And it's very deflating and frustrating, for lack of a better term. But Rick is undeterred. Kara, they are undeterred. They are absolutely moving forward with Constitution City, Texas, but it's just going to take a little bit more time. It's going to cost him an extra $1 million over the next 12 months in the process. So if you can and feel so led, go ahead and throw some of your spare change to Patriot Academy's way, patriotacademy.com. You can donate directly to the campus project or anything else that your heart is leading you to. We really, really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to see what next summer holds with the 250th celebration that they're going to have and how they're going to maneuver to make sure that this comes to fruition. I have no doubt it will. Rick, like I said, he is one determined Jose. If you have not gotten on Patriot Academy's social media lately, I would recommend going and watching the video that he put out. He did a live video this week. His tavern is now live again. So those of you that watched Front Porch Live and miss him being live on Facebook, he is back to doing that on Mondays at 6 Central, 7 Eastern. I hope I'm getting that time right. And he did a live episode of the tavern just this past Monday and explained everything. Last week when it all went down, he did a shorter version. And I love it. Have you seen it, Lauren, where he's looking into the camera? Was he at your parents'? No. He did the tavern.
He was at our house just this last Monday.
That's right. He's staying with you guys and did Monday's tavern from your parents' house. That is so cool. But the week before, did you see the video where he's looking into the camera? Look into my eyes. Did you see that?
Yes.
I was like, oh. I wouldn't want to be messing with him if I were them.
Oh no. They are determined to get this done. It's going to happen. And I really think it's so hard when obstacles come like this and you just go, what on earth is the purpose? But I have a feeling that looking back, it's going to be one of those moments where we realize how much Patriot Academy and the values and the mission that we're fighting for grew. It's just an opportunity. It's not a roadblock. It is a roadblock, but it's not something that's going to stop us. Nope. It's just simply a new path forward. It's something that is going to cause growth because, honestly, we know the people who are involved in Patriot Academy, the Greens, you can't stop them, and they're just going to be determined and learn and grow from whatever is put in their path.
Man, absolutely. I watched him look into the camera. This is my first reaction. I've never seen him that serious, I don't think. You're just like, oh my, like daddy's mad. Oh crap. Like one of those scenarios. Let's see, as we wind down, Lauren, if you have any final thoughts, be thinking about maybe how we close. We're going to wind things down. Hopefully I can figure out a way to play the outro video, but I also, in the meantime, want to share my screen if I could, because now I'm looking at something different on the screen. I don't know why. Don't you love when stuff updates and you're like, wait a minute, it didn't look like that 2 seconds ago. What changed?
I know.
I'm going to share Lead with Your Strengths. The book that I wrote and am launching is available for purchase on my Shopify store. You can go to tonyshoop.myshopify.com. This is what it looks like. So I'm slowing down on the promotion of this for a couple of reasons. One is the new potential project I'm going to be taking on. But two is I'm want to make sure I'm in compliance with copyright laws, because I did base a lot of this off a book that was already written, and I need to make sure that I'm buttoning up everything there. So you can either get a download of the PDF on here for $19.99. As soon as you purchase it, instantly to your email, you'll get the whole book. It's 128 pages, downloadable version of PDF. If you would like to pre-order a signed copy, $24.99. I added $5 just to cover the shipping, so I don't have to charge extra shipping on that. That's one fee. And then I will send you a PDF copy so you have it instantly if you want a hard copy that's signed once I get those made. The hard copies, my goal is to have them available and ready by October 25th, because I have a speaking engagement right now scheduled for that date in another state, and I'm hoping to have some hard copies with me. But I'm also going to have to work really hard to make sure the copyright laws are everything is buttoned up and I don't get myself into any trouble there. So I'm putting a small pause on this for now. But in the meantime, if you want to use it for yourself, I think I'll be okay with just the PDF download. So tonyshoop.myshopify.com. That's what it looks like. Let me click on and make sure that, there we go. That's what you're seeing. Add to cart. And if you have any questions, just send me an email. But there it is. Lead with your strengths. I'm excited to be doing workshops with those across the state and across the country. We're going to do some via Zoom. I'm going to be doing some in person, and it's going to be awesome. Think that's it for me for my announcements. Lauren, final thoughts, closing thoughts before we play our outro video, and I'll see you guys next week with probably a very special announcement on some of my next endeavors. But the floor is yours, Lauren. What do you want to tell everybody?
Well, first of all, I just would say that if you have gotten anything from what I've said tonight, that is all the Lord. If there's anything you went, she shouldn't have said that, that was all on me. But anything that has maybe blessed you tonight, that is all the Lord and the blessings and the other people that he has put in my life, like Tony. I mean, I truly can't say how much I have learned by watching you and your leadership and character. It's amazing. With all that in mind, I would encourage you, whether it's you or a young person that you know, come to a Patriot Academy Leadership Congress. See what it's all about. Learn the skills that they have. There's so much that they have poured years and years and years into preparing for people to learn. We are the tip of the spear. What Patriot Academy is doing is going to change the course of our nation. It will be the determining factor. You get to be part of that. I always try and tell myself, I want to do today what others won't, so tomorrow that I can do what others can't. If you want to be around people like that who are going to lift you up to that standard of excellence, Patriot Academy is that place. I know that there are so many groups around the country that have skills that they're trying to teach, and they are patriotic organizations. And I do not say this lightly. Patriot Academy is the place where you will find the best quality people. You will find the people of extreme excellence that you are looking for to surround yourself with, to learn from, to grow with, to inspire you. That's what Patriot Academy is. The students that they are teaching, the programs that they have running, the things that they're building over the next few years, I can't wait to see where it all goes. And if you want to be a part of that, or you know a young person who you can inspire to be a patriot, to be someone that is a light for our nation, Patriot Academy is the place. And I can't wait to see how it's going to continue to grow and get to meet new people over the next few years and just see where we get to learn and where God's going to take us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lauren, for your time. Stick around backstage. We'll do a little debrief, and hopefully I have an outro video that usually plays. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm just going to hit, and sometimes we do funny videos after, because some of the topics we talk about are really heavy. So I like ending on a laughter and a high note, and there's no way I'm going to try to do that right now because I'm pushing my luck as it is. I think I've done a halfway decent. I'm excited for Joel to come back next week. I'm going to hit end live stream. If there is no closing video as normal, don't worry. See you next week, Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. If the video is there, great. But Lauren, hang out backstage. You guys, it's been an awesome night. Thank you. Like, share, subscribe. AuditTheVotePA.com. Donate if you can. PatriotAcademy.com. Same marching orders there. I'll see you guys next week.